All right, guys. Episode 11 or 10, I think. Well, first of all, a bit of sad news from last week. We did make a lovely podcast about British sports stars, which sadly got butchered, and the recording got fucked up. So very sad, but I'm sure, as you both would agree, it's going to be too much hard work to go back and redo it. So it is what it is. We just move on. This week we're going to speak about video games. In particular, obviously more about history itself, but yeah, it will be video games. I want to start off with the first question, which is the first console that you ever owned. It doesn't have to be one that you specifically bought, just the first console that you had in your household. And I'll kick it off with Simon.
Yeah, mine was the NES, Nintendo. So the first kind of edition of their set of consoles. I guess it would have been either that or possibly, I don't think when the Game Boy came out, because I think that would have been probably some amount of time. But yeah, that was in the early 90s. So 94, I had that from. And
you had it early days then.
Really early. So
yeah,
that was the first one. I also owned the Game Gear. In terms of portable devices, I owned the Game Gear, which is a Sega product.
The big chunky little the black one, wasn't it?
Absolutely reasonable, mate. And the funny thing is, I think we still got it in my parents' house, probably like in the garage or something. But the funny thing was, it was like at one point I think we got paint on it or something. But yeah, it was like one of those relics that's I think still knocking about my parents' house. But yeah, Nintendo NES was the first one. I remember having sort of family friends round, and one of the biggest moments was when we played Batman. And I think that game was 1989, so it was a platformer. And yeah, that was a pretty special game, because obviously at the time, being a kid, you see a superhero like Batman.
Yeah.
It's every kid's dream, isn't it, to sort of either watch a film with that sort of character in it, or play a game with it. Obviously, even better because you feel like you're in control. But that was the first game I properly remember. We did have FIFA 94 as well. So that's how far I'm going back. And this is the point where how old are you, mate?
Did you say Tom? How old are you?
No, this is the point where...
Yeah, I mean, I'm 93. I think the first FIFA game that I played was 2003.
Jeez, that's quite late.
That was with Edgar Davids, Roberto Carlos, and Roy Giggs.
Yeah, I remember that one. It's funny, Simon, you mentioned FIFA 94. I had a FIFA game on my Sega Mega Drive. I don't know which one it was, but I had an old FIFA game. It might have been 95, 94. I can't remember, but it was a really old one. But I do remember playing it distinctively on obviously my Sega Mega Drive. I mean, I think I also had a Batman game as well. I can't remember that. I think it might have been Batman Forever. I've gone on obviously YouTube since then and watched the clips of the other people playing the game, because as I'm sure you guys can relate, playing games back in those days just seemed so bloody difficult. And you go online and you see people playing it nowadays, obviously on the emulators or whatever, with the freedom to save whenever they want, on the emulators. So it looks a lot easier. But I think with it's funny one also that you mentioned Game Boy, because I also did have a Game Boy Color, but I don't specifically remember the year which I had. I feel like it was later. But Sega Mega Drive 2 was my first ever games console that we had in our house. Along with loads of games, as I mentioned, the Batman and the FIFA. There was an mutant ice hockey game as well, I remember. Loads of games that we had on the Sega Mega Drive. Another one, Last Battle. I think we had one of the Streets of Rage as well. The Sonic. Sonic 1 and 2 we had. I'm trying to remember all the other games. Lion King, which I think you also had as well, McSweeney. That was a horribly difficult game, but yeah, at the same time, nostalgic memories. Even when I go online and watch the videos of people playing it, I'm like, fuck me, that was a harder game.
Game. The funny thing is, you try and work things out, because I remember RoboCop was another one that again was a really cool. I mean, the film is one of my favourite films of all time, but incredibly violent film. But actually playing the game, because I had the action figure for RoboCop as well. Basically, his eyes were just sort of like almost like a laser light up and go red.
Mm.
But that game, the funny thing is the very first level, you get into the building and basically someone's been held hostage, and there's an American flag in the background. There's like a table. It's like one of the like the governor generals or someone like that, some sort of attorney general that's basically been taken hostage. And the guy's been held with like the actual terrorist is behind him with the gun. And every so often, what will happen is the hostage actually ducks, and then you got obviously shoot the terrorist. Then what I kept doing is I kept shooting the bloody hostage.
Yeah.
And I was like, what's going on? What's going on? Why is it not working? Why am I not getting through? I'm killing the bloody hostage. So that was a funny memory. And I also got to mention Super Mario, the original.
Oh yeah, of course. So you're a Nintendo. Also, I didn't play Mario until later on the Game Boy. But yeah,
it's one of those similar to, and I'm sure someone's going to mention this later. Similar to Street Fighter. For some reason, I had it in my head that I could basically produce a fireball from doing the same thing like the Hadouken thing or the
yeah.
I thought it was the same as like Super Mario. I thought, if I find this plant in the garden, I might be able to then start having powers to sort of fire stuff. It's a typical sort of thing when you're a kid, isn't it? Don't get these things.
Yeah, so that's obviously you had the NES and like we had the Sega Mega Drive, but my neighbor, I think they lived on the floor above. They had a NES, and I do remember. I think they had got it sort of before us. But I remember going to their houses every now and again and playing Asterix, and also Donkey Kong, obviously, which was really popular on the Nintendo at the time. I don't know if they had a Super Nintendo at the time, or I think it might have been a Super Nintendo. But yeah, I remember playing them. But at the same time, obviously, we had a Sega, so we were always like pro Sega in our house. But Timothy, what console was your first before we move on?
My one was the Sega Mega Drive.
Mega Drive as well, yeah.
Yeah, so I didn't play many games on it because we were always out and about, and my dad was the kind of person to force us out of the house instead of staying in the house to waste time. So Sonic was the major one that we always played. Me and my sister, we got it. No, actually, not my sister. Sorry, my cousin. When she used to come round, we were hooked on the game, played for hours when it was like really shitty weather outside and so on. Didn't play it that much, but then we moved on to what did I get then? It was a Game Boy, so the original one, which was like the purple colour. I didn't get like a see-through one or anything like that because I wasn't worthy enough to have one, but like the old school original purple one. And Pokemon games on that were like a must. Play them in and out constantly. Don't ask me the actual names. I just know that I played Pokemon for hours and hours and hours. What other games were there on the Game Boy that you could play? I'm trying to remember.
I'm trying to think of what I had personally, and Pokemon Yellow was my first ever. Going on to the second question, actually, first game you ever bought. And I remember my mum taking me to Woolworths and buying Pokemon Yellow for me as a birthday present, and I played that game like hours upon hours, and I had a level 99 Haunter. I know you're not going to remember the names, but Pokemon Yellow was probably the first game that I ever had bought for me, or that I bought, which was obviously for my birthday. But obviously there was the Mario games. I'm trying to think as well. Actually, that's a very good question. I don't think we had that many games. I remember having Pokemon Red, I think it was, and like Yellow was mine. Red sort of my brothers played. I think it was at the time. That is a good question. I mean, next we can get the game, but what other games were there around that time?
So there's the Mario games. There was like Wario. Remember the angry
Wario,
version?
Yeah.
The Mario and is it Wario's World or something? Later down the line on the Game Boy Advance side, Rayman. I thought it was a quality game. Rayman.
Good shout.
It's again Pokemon, like you said. The James Bond game actually on the Game Boy, which is ridiculously hard, but that was on there as well.
I mean, the only James Bond game I can remember on a games console that was decent anyway was GoldenEye.
Oh yeah.
That was like first person kind of shooter, wasn't it?
Really popular game. Although I didn't have it. I didn't actually own any Nintendo consoles apart from if you do count the handhelds. Obviously, we got Wii later on down the line, but I'm talking early days. Yeah, it was more or less Sega, and then second console that we ever had was a PlayStation. And family friend bought us a PlayStation, and PlayStation was probably one of my favorite consoles growing up. Against smash the life out of playing that all the time, more or less non-stop. But yeah, I mean, Game Boy. I guess the only time I played Game Boy was literally for Pokemon. I'm sure we had other games, but it was mainly just Pokemon all the time. If I'm honest.
Yeah, that's the only thing I can think.
Donkey Kong, Tetris, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, the Donkey Kong as well. I don't know if there was a specific Game Boy. There must have been a Game Boy related game for Donkey Kong. But yeah, again, all I can sort of remember at this moment of time is the Pokemon games. Did I ask you guys already about what was the first game you bought? I don't think I heard from Tom McSweeney, maybe you as well.
I mean, I think the first game that I bought was FIFA 2003, and like we mentioned earlier, that was the first football game I actually bought too. So I kind of crossed between FIFA and PES over a period of about 10 years, where I was highly into FIFA, then I was highly into PES, and so on and so forth. But yeah, FIFA was the first game I bought. I mean, Edgar Davids and Juve were fucking mustard, and Ryan Giggs was playing, and everyone loved him, and no one thought he was a fucking sister. No, like he wasn't going to shag your wife, and so on and so forth. But I love that game. I think I got that on the Xbox. So like original Xbox. So the controller was really fucking heavy.
Chunky.
When I was playing it, I was playing that, and I was playing the Spider-Man game that came out at the same time, which I think it was like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man when he was
that's brilliant.
Goblin, and like you could swing from buildings and all sorts. Obviously, it was just fucking Spider-Man. I don't need to explain that to anyone on here, but like that was a quality game, and I was switching between them. So yeah, it was either FIFA 2003 or the Spider-Man game. I don't know which came out first.
I was going to say that the Spider-Man game I remember playing sort of summer 2002, just after the film would come out, because that was the first film. I don't know if you guys remember, but there was like this uproar about it being a 12, and then they had to basically reclassify the whole. Is it the British Board of whatever it is, for rating movies and games, that sort of thing. But it became that was the first film I think that was a 12A that you could basically go and watch. If you're like 10 or 11, you can go and watch it with an adult. And the game was sort of adapted from the film, but you had like people that weren't in the film, like Shocker and do you remember the who's that Vulture as well?
Vulture.
Do you remember the bad guy called Vulture in it?
No.
Yes, he was in it, and then Shocker was in it as well. I said it.
Shocker, that was the one that was played by Jamie Foxx in the older films, was it?
I don't know, but do you remember these? Do you remember these bad guys? You're not really much of a Marvel or DC.
I remember from those Spider-Man days of Tobey Maguire, it was the Goblin that was played by William Dafoe.
Yeah,
Was there another baddie?
They weren't in the film, but they basically adapted the film to include other bad guys as well, just to obviously pad it out and make sure you had enough like bosses and levels.
Yeah.
But he was like Vulture was one of the bad guys. He had this really irritating, sort of gravelly, scratchy voice.
I'm not surprised. I
would do an impression where I embarrass myself, but it's like, what's the matter, Spider-Man? Fast for you?
Fuck it out.
Something like that, but it's no, those are great games. In terms of me, it was, I think, the first game I actually bought my own sort of pocket money. I think that's what you're asking, isn't it, Rich?
Mudgy.
Yeah.
Mudgy.
Yeah, my fucking headset taking a fucking piss now. there I was trying to butt
In it.
about Spider-Man, and I'm like, why are these guys carrying on fucking talking? Why don't I let me say this?
Do you hear my embarrassing impression?
No, in the end, I ended up turning it off, but yeah, I think I did just about catch your impression. So what I was saying,
broke the headset.
What I was actually saying was, you guys are obviously talking about the movie remake of the Spider-Man game. So I remember the original PlayStation Spider-Man game, the original PlayStation 1 game, which I think came out mid-90s. Well before the movie. So that's the one that's sort of come into my head. And I think there was Spider-Man 2 as well, which I actually did play. I don't actually recall playing the movie remake, the movie-related games, basically, is what I'm saying. But I have got it on my Xbox 360, actually, because I downloaded it not that long ago to play. But, yeah, I think the Spider-Man games are obviously classic. As you mentioned before, McSweeney, about playing superhero games, there was a big buzz about them when you're playing them on the games console. I think they were always pretty popular. But yeah, I think in general, like obviously with the newer Spider-Man games that they've recently released, the newer ones as well, which again was really popular, really high selling. Of course, when you're going back and comparing between what you played back in the day, but that was the nostalgia value from obviously back then as well. But yeah, I've not really played a proper superhero game for a while. Waiting for a Superman game for ages, and the last one came out like 20 years ago, whatever it was, and they haven't made one since. So let's see if they bring one out. Another question I'm going to ask everyone down the line is actually views on the state of the games right now, and can sort of relate on that a little bit there as well.
Yeah. So I was going to say about you're asking a question. Is it like the first game I actually bought with my money?
Or you had obviously my answer was relating to a birthday present, which my mum bought for me because we went to a shop and she bought it for me. So it can be a present, it could be with your own money, but more or less the first game that was yours, basically.
I think, the one that stands out for me, I actually bought mine because I used to do like chores and stuff around the house, and if you get got good grades with like school or something, you get rewarded for it every so often. But if I was like cleaning parts of the house, I'd get like a $5 or something. And I remember saving up for about a good probably month or so. And there was this game on the Mega Drive called Taz in Escape from Mars. It's basically Taz the Tasmanian Devil.
Why do I feel like I played that back in the day?
Yeah, you got like, is it Elmer Fudd and people like that? You got Marvin the Martian. All those sorts of, because I actually loved Taz the Tasmanian Devil back in the day. I thought he was just really funny, like quick tempered, and the fact you could spin around as well, I thought was cool. I went to, you mentioned Woolworths earlier, and literally just a stone's throw away from where I live now. There was one on High Street, and I remember going on a Friday. Literally thinking about it all day at school, and it was like, come whatever time we finished school on a Friday, 2:30, 3 p.m. I just went down with my mum, and then obviously I bought it, and that was like I was probably about 7 or 8 at the time actually. So that was a good memory, but that would be the first game I actually sort of purchased out of my money.
God, obviously it is quite a while ago, but the next question, obviously, best video game of all time. And this is a tough question even for me to answer. And I don't think I really can point my finger at one specific game. If it makes your guys' life easier, you can nominate a genre, or not a genre, but, a series like, for example, FIFA or, it doesn't have to be a specific game. It can be a game within the series, basically. Best video game of all time. If I go ahead and answer that first, I mean, growing up, I think I mentioned this to you, McSweeney, in the past when we were talking about video games in general. One video game I had on my PlayStation 1 growing up was Siphon Filter 3, which I had a tremendous amount of fun playing, and I replayed it tons of times. It was just really, really fun. May I add some, back in the days on PlayStation, they used to do the demo discs. I don't know if you remember in the PlayStation.
Oh, yeah.
And even those, I remember getting a few of them, or hassling my mum. Oh, mum, going to our local Safeway, which was used to be called Safeway, but then it changed to Morrison's. So we used to go there. They had a big magazine section, with the newspapers and TV guides and all sorts. And they had the PlayStation magazine. So I think we had one PlayStation magazine, or I think I might have actually found a disc. Now, this is a true story. I found a disc in my school, or near it was like on the floor or something. It was pretty scratched up, and we took it home. and there was an MTV snowboarding game which we played again the life out of. There was another demo disc which we owned, which had the game called Silent Bomber. It wasn't a popular game, but I remember playing that demo over and over and just loving the game. Another one, C12 Final Resistance. Again, these old games which I downloaded later on down the line, and I replayed them, and I was like, yeah, obviously nowhere near as good as what you experienced back in the day. But I think Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PlayStation, again, loads of good memories of playing that game. And for the time, obviously, it was a big change, and what they were able to achieve with that game. I think it was officially the number one PlayStation 1 game of all time. It got awards and stuff. But I think for me, that was one of the best games I've ever played. Now, going on to more recent times, and I'm thinking of games in my head which I've played and absolutely loved, I think I've got to put the Far Cry series on that list. To be honest, I was also playing, again, another question which will relate to this answer, which I'm giving you now, but I was playing Mafia 3. We just started replaying that as well because I sort of started many years ago and I stopped. But I remember playing Mafia 2 on my Xbox 360 a long time ago, and I loved playing that game. It was like it sort of hit a nerve within me. I guess the scenery, the time when I was playing, the whole setting. So there's many games I could mention. Obviously, FIFA. I used to bunk off school to go buy FIFA on the first day when I was going through primary school / secondary school. So I've got loads of memories of playing FIFA as well. But yeah, I think the Far Cry series, because I actually got back into it of late. Replayed Far Cry 3, played Far Cry 4, completed Far Cry 5, Far Cry 6. I started it, but it just wasn't the same, so I had to stop. But 3, 4, and 5 were brilliant games, so I think I'm gonna lean towards that being on the top of my list. Tom, I'll go to you. Yeah, I think Far Cry's got to be up there. But one of my favorite games growing up as a child got to be Metal Gear 1. It was, yeah. Again, we replayed it tons of times, and it was such a fun game.
I think you're right. It got 100% in the PlayStation magazine, didn't it?
I was going. Yeah.
I think 99 or something. It was like.
I'm not surprised. Yeah. Did you guys actually play it?
Sorry.
Did you guys actually play for Metal Gear?
Oh yeah, I actually did it in the wrong order. I did it. Well, technically, I did play Metal Gear Solid, the original, before. I say the original. There was one called Metal Gear on the NES, I think, or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I played a demo of Metal Gear Solid, and then I actually played a full game, Metal Gear Solid 2, around about the end of 2002, and I thought that was phenomenal. So now I just go and obviously try out and buy the original. So yeah.
For me, I was having to think about it all day, about all the games that I've played that I've loved with a passion. Crash Bandicoot was like a basic bitch game, but it was such an addictive game to play. It was so funny. You could play with friends and so on and so forth. Halo, when it came out on the Xbox originally, and there was like a massive buzz about it, and like the graphics were next level, and they made so much money out of those games. I think they made 3 games over 4 of them. I can't remember now, but they made so fucking many of them, and like the money that they made of them was nuts. Football games, I've always loved them. Not just FIFA or PES, but Football Manager. I remember when I was younger, when I would go over to Ireland for the whole summer, my dad would literally say, yeah, you're going over to Ireland for the whole summer, so he could literally work and then not have to worry about me. So then like, the responsibilities would then be on my uncle and auntie to make sure that I was alive and kicking. Because my cousins were in Ireland, and everyone knows that the Irish weather is basically 99% rain and there were 1% dry and sunny. What we did most of the time was stay in their bedrooms and play Football Manager, sorry. And this was like, we're talking when I was 13, 14 years old, so 2008, 2009 maybe. Yeah, 2008, 2009. And it would be me, 2 of my cousins from my from my dad's auntie, and then another cousin from their side, so from their dad's side of the family. And we would then be tactical about the squad in which we're buying, or like the club in which we're going to manage, and like, the players in which we're going to buy. And like, we would all kind of take like shifts as well. Like I would do like an hour or two playing, and then my other cousin would then take over for a little bit, and then we had like an assistant manager there who was like another one of our cousins, and it was I fucking smashed it. Oh mate, I absolutely loved it with a passion.
Proper invested into it.
So yeah, I did 100%. That was from probably like an emotional standpoint. That was my favourite game. But all time, I've been trying to think, and like the whole of the afternoon, and this game series I love. There was no game that I could actually pick out. Probably the fifth one, but GTA for me was just fucking insane, like immense. Like not only like the things that you could get away with, like you could murder prostitutes, you could knock people over, you could steal their money, you could shoot people, stab people, you could steal fucking things, and you could bomb a house, or you could throw like a Molotov cocktail at someone, and you could just do anything you wanted to do, run nuts. And the whole point of the game was to commit crime and kill people and do this, that, and the third. And Rockstar just got away with murder basically, and then they ended up making billions off it, like not caring the fucking world. You've obviously got other games out there like COD, which in all honesty I never got into COD. People banged on about COD so much. Do you
More
guys
of a multiplayer. It was more of a multiplayer. I was never a big multiplayer fan growing up. Like, I didn't really go online and play. The majority reason was obviously because I had a chipped Xbox, which you couldn't do that initially when I first got it. But I think GTA definitely gets it. I mean, I played Call of Duty. I did play the games, but it was more the campaign, or I'd play local co-op with my brothers or my neighbors. You know, we'd play zombies, you know, for split screen, four of us together.
Zombies,
I spent a lot of time doing that, but it was never online. It was never with strangers, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I think you mentioned GTA definitely has a special mention. You've got to talk about that a little bit as well. I mean, I remember the original games, 1, and I think it was 2, and GTA London. In Woolworths, they did like a special edition, all 3 games in one spindle. And I do remember buying that when I was young. Again, it was obviously bird's eye view. It wasn't really that great. And I didn't really play GTA 3. Now, I had Vice City and San Andreas on my PS2. And I didn't play GTA 4 until later on down the line. But obviously, I had GTA 5. So I think because I missed out a few of the games, and because it's so popular, you know, it didn't automatically come into my head. But yeah, it's an amazing game, and you can see right now the buzz for the 6th game. You know, everyone's dying for it, waiting for it, and when that does come out, it's going to break all sorts of records. Yeah,
they're just showing like a little bit of nipple every like a little bit of cleavage, and then it's going you got to wait for the whole thing next year.
Another year, and that might even like force me. I don't know when it's going to come out on PC, but. You know, I've been umming and ahhing this year about getting a new gaming PC, but I just went and bought a graphics card instead for like 150 quid instead, and that is lasting me fine right now. But I might even go and make me go and fucking buy another console again, you know, just to play that game.
I'm contemplating as well. I'm like, mate, I'm gonna play it so fucking badly. Should I go and spend like £300-400 on the game console just to go and play
I think a lot of people will. Or you know, like I said, if it comes out on PC, I can get it early. Because I know normally with the PC game ports, it takes a little while to go onto it. But yeah, I think closer to a time next year, you're going to see a lot of influx of people getting games console purely for that game alone. And they have every right to go and do it because it is a huge event for a new GTA game to come out. So yeah, McSweeney, I think your answer please for the best video game of all time.
Yes, for me, and when I mentioned this to you previously, Mudge, you hadn't heard of it, but I'd be interested to know if Tom's ever heard of it. It's called Shenmue. It was on Dreamcast and it was on Xbox. from you, and it's on PS3. They basically brought out 2 original games on the Dreamcast.
Right.
It was like a long-awaited game because basically it had been developed for like sort of, I think, probably mid to late 90s. And the Sega Saturn, the Dreamcast came out around about end of 98, start of 99.
Right.
And basically it's an action adventure game, and it's based on a guy called Ryo Hazuki. His dad gets murdered by obviously the villain in the story called Lan Di. He then basically, the whole thing's like based on like him getting his revenge and all that type of thing. But the beauty of the game is basically the detail. Like you live in his obviously house, and he's got a dojo there. You learn like martial arts, like certain like karate moves and jiu-jitsu stuff.
Right.
So it's a lot of it is based on like martial arts. You go around, you talk to people. You're basically finding clues. You're trying to work out. Okay, so his parents got, so his dad got killed. He's trying to work out. So where did the guys go? There are like two guys in suits. And there's Lan Di, the main villain, and you're walking around like the local sort of towns and villages. It's like, well, what's happened here? You're basically unveiling different parts of the story. And the great thing about it is because it's so extended into 3 games, is that you go to like Hong Kong, China, and stuff. So you like travel to different places, meet different people, obviously fighting a lot of like villains and like bad guys. But yeah, I mean, it's absolutely amazing. Like even for like back then, the graphics I think now would look good, and that's saying something. And you get these things called quick time events as well, which are QTEs, and basically it's like an arcade thing. So imagine you're like walking up a street, yeah, and like a marketplace, and you're going to get ambushed by these bad guys, and you've got to press a button at the right time. And if you screw it up, if you missed that part of it, it's like a sequence. You've got to start again, or you might get knocked to the ground. You can get up, but you've got to do certain things that will basically allow you to get through that.
Yeah, they're popular in games nowadays. I've seen quite a few, which obviously I'm assuming Shenmue was one of the first to probably create that or do that in their games originally.
Yeah, mate, it was ahead of its time. And the thing is, if the Dreamcast didn't do so badly, they'd have made the 3rd one a lot sooner, because they actually cancelled doing the 3rd game in the series. It was all like the storyline was done, and Yu Suzuki was the guy actually produced it. He'd already had it in the bag, but he obviously didn't have the money to fund it. And because the Dreamcast was a massive flop in the end, and Shenmue didn't do as well as it probably should have done, it meant that basically fans like myself, I mean, I actually didn't crowdfund it, but it went to crowdfunding. I think Kickstarter. Have you guys heard of that?
Mm.
Yeah.
So that was what basically revived it, and I've still got the game. I need to play it on the PS3, but I'm going to make a vow to do that soon, because I've no idea what happens. I'm at the point where basically you see Lan Di again, and he gets in a helicopter. So I'm sort of itching to find out what happens next. But absolutely amazing game, and just like the different, I mean, even like the characters in it, and like the detailed responses, like the AI in it's incredible. Also got some arcade games in it. Do you guys remember Hang On?
Yes.
No, I don't.
On Mega Drive.
Yeah, that rings a bell. Yeah.
It's the motorbike game. It was part of like a trilogy thing with like columns and something else.
Yeah, that loosely rings a bell. Yeah.
Yeah, you had Hang On, Super Hang On. You've got Afterburner in it as well. You've got like Pac-Man on it. So you've actually got mini games within the actual game. You can go to like local arcade and just play them for hours.
Oh, okay.
So it's just incredible. You get a job, you earn money, you win fights like random people in the street, and you earn money. Like someone put bets on it, and just if you ever get a chance to play it, definitely do.
Did you guys ever play the True Crime series?
One of them I think I played on the PC.
Oh yeah, I just remember games similar to GTA, and I remember True Crime, Streets of LA, amazing game. Played them on PlayStation 2 loads. I didn't play the following one, the New York one, as much, but then they released a new game called Sleeping Dogs on the Xbox and PS3. I think it was great game. I've replayed that a few times as well. But yeah, just thinking of the GTA games.
Sleeping Dogs, wasn't that based in London? Or was that like a Watcher?
No. So the Paulie, the watch you're on about, Sleeping Dogs was based, I think, in Hong Kong or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, there's loads of games obviously which came out after the success of GTA. You know, sort of similar games. I remember Driver back in the day on the PlayStation. That was a great game as well. Great game.
Did you? I can imagine you like this game. Did you ever play Carmageddon?
Oh no, I haven't. No.
I think you'd love that game. Similar to Need for Speed, actually.
Mm.
And that was a good game as well. That was a good franchise. But yeah,
good
sort of thing. Destruction Derby. Basically, you go around like smashing up cars and just mental stuff. But yeah, Driver was good.
I played Driver San Francisco, which was the latest game that they released on the Xbox 360 when it came out, and I actually went back and replayed it a bit as well about a year ago when I fixed my Xbox actually. So yeah, Driver always holds a special memory for me playing on the PlayStation 1. Going on to my next question, best console you ever owned. I will kick off with this one. It's a tough question to answer because I've had many a games console. And also, before I forget, when we were mentioning best video game of all time, I think I got to have a special mention for the Pokemon Yellow, which I played back in the day. I should have mentioned that as well because I did spend so many hours on it, but I wanted to make it a game actually on a console rather than a handheld. But yeah, Pokemon is definitely up there. So best console ever owned. I mean, I owned obviously the PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. PlayStation 2 was a good shout, and I was probably going to go for that one, but then of course, I can't forget my Xbox 360. I think I've mentioned the story to you, Simon, before, but I think I think it was about 2008, 2009. I got my first Xbox 360 only because it was the first time I bought a Microsoft console because I found out about you can chip it. You can obviously flash the DVD drive and you can burn your own games. So I went online and I found out how to do it. Went and paid some guy on Gumtree, I think 50 quid, to buy his already chipped Xbox, and it was already banned online because obviously it's chipped. So I was like, yeah, I don't give a shit about playing online. So when I bought that for about 50 quid, and I had a ton of games with it already, and then I obviously learned how to burn the disc myself. Had to buy a special DVD drive from some place from America, I think it was. And then yeah, I'd literally wait for new games to come out. They get released online. I'll download the ISO and burn them onto disc and play them. And I had a shit ton of games, more or less all the newer games which were coming out, downloading them and playing them. And my Xbox 360, the original one, the white one, that obviously got busted. And I went and bought I think it's called the Xbox Elite. It's the black version, the slimmer one. Or actually, I think it's called Xbox Slim. And I've still got that to this day. Now, I played it a lot, obviously back in the day, but then during COVID, I sort of got it back out again. And I actually started playing it again. And then it again got put back into storage. I actually gave it to a mate of mine. And then when I came back to London, literally last year, I said to my mate, "Do you still have my Xbox?" And he said, "Yeah, he did." And he actually just gave it back to me because he wasn't playing it. And it had a red ring error. And I was seeing online, like you can get the custom dashboard. You can play games off a hard drive now as well. They've obviously advanced the emulation scene. So I was like, oh, that would be amazing. I could just buy a 2 terabyte SSD, put all my games on there and play it. So I went online and I was checking, who does this. And some repair shop up in Bolton, of all places. So I had to send my Xbox to them. They did all the stuff, and I think it cost me about 150 quid because my Xbox was actually just the DVD drive was flashed there. It wasn't actually modded. It was like the chip and stuff. So they said, "Oh, we have to do more work in order to fix it." And I was like, "Yeah, whatever. However much it costs, I don't care. Just do it." And they put the software and all that stuff on there for me. So obviously, because I wasn't working up until more or less February, so most of late last year and beginning of this year, I was playing a ton of Xbox 360 again. Obviously, again, I downloaded like 300 games onto the hard drive, and I'm just replaying loads of them. So Xbox 360 is my best video game console of all time because, again, all the memories, all the free games, being a pirate and being a cheapskate, not wanting to go buy games, yeah, so many memories, and still to this day, I'm still playing. Every now and again, I'll turn it on, play a bit with my daughter as well. That was one of the main reasons I went and bought it. Speaking of chipping, I went and bought a mod card for the Nintendo Switch as well, which arrived literally 2 weeks ago. So now I can play unlimited games on my Switch as well. So yeah, any opportunity I get to play, I do. But I've been playing more PC games lately. But yeah, before waffling on, best console I ever owned was my Xbox 360. McSweeney, you next, please, mate.
Yeah, so the funny thing is, I know we were talking about boxing. You said like best or favourite, and sometimes they're hand in hand. I think best for me is definitely PS2, PlayStation 2. I just thought that it was like you'd had obviously the first generation one, which is amazing, and to improve on that was quite a tall order, and I think they definitely did. It had so much longevity. I think it first came out around about, was it end of '99? Because I think Dreamcast had a bit of a head start on them, and yeah, '99 I think it came out, because I remember getting it in just before it's my 11th birthday in 2001 is when I got it. So got Time Splitters, got Jak and Daxter, got Tekken Tag, which is absolutely awesome.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah, great game.
About a year after. So got that then. Was it? Yeah, it was SmackDown 2 was on it, which is really good. And
also they released SmackDown 2 on PS2 as well, because I remember playing on PS1.
Yeah, now you say it, because I think SmackDown 3 was exclusive to PS2, wasn't it? The Just Bring It.
Yeah, 3 and 4 were on PS2, as well as obviously a few others, Here Comes the Pain and so on. I remember Here Comes the Pain, because I owned that one. But yeah, I remember having 2 on PlayStation 1.
Yeah, it's just titles. Yeah, no, you're right. No, Your Role number 2 was on PS1 as well, wasn't it? But I just felt like that it sort of arrived. I think it put Sony properly on the map, where they were previously. Sadly, a Dreamcast, it basically saw off the Dreamcast, and it was like just more popular and more, I guess, I wouldn't say innovative, because the Dreamcast had quite a lot of really cool things like playing online. It had
the graphics as well. Yeah, a huge, a huge benefit over the PlayStation 1. But I think the PlayStation 2, the graphics were amazing compared to PS1. I mean, that leap, I think that was the biggest thing. Obviously, the DVD player compatibility as well, the disc being 5-6 times larger, and as well being able to fit all that in. It was just a revolutionary console. It was an amazing console.
I think the only criticism I'd have was the technical issues. That if you got like the first, it wasn't the first batch, but it was like there's a certain batch. I don't know if you guys remember this, but basically you get this thing called disk read error.
Okay, no, I don't think I had that much myself.
It would be with like certain if you bought the first batch of PS2s and you didn't play, because they had the blue disc, didn't they?
Yes, yeah, they did. Some of them are the black or blue, wasn't it?
Silver or blue.
Well, are you talking about PlayStation 1?
No, PS2.
PS2, I remember them. No, sorry, it's the PS1 was the black ones, wasn't it?
Yeah,
blue. Yeah, I do remember blue. Yeah, vaguely. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you didn't have the earlier games, and basically you get this, you could like there was some sort of like fault with it with like the first batch, and then the second batch there was like another fault where it was like certain games it would just have problems reading. You have to keep reinserting it. And eventually, you might get lucky, but it actually got to the point where there was this article in the newspaper. And there was this company that basically said, like, we've got reconditioned PS2s, or like, if you have a problem, this fault with your PS2, then call us or email us, and we can come around and basically collect it. And then they'll within like a few days or a week drop it back off to you. And they did that. But then the second one I got had this really annoying thing where basically it crashed at certain points of games. So that had a fault as well. And then I think the third one had a fault. It got to the point where they basically said, right, we'll basically give you a brand new one free of charge.
Bloody hell, sounds like the Xbox 360 Red Ring of Death thingy. Yeah, no, PlayStation 2 had all these issues. I didn't know that.
It did. Google it, disk read error, and it drove me absolutely bonkers to the point where, I don't smash consoles up, but I think there's a point where you think you might as well do, because it's as good as useless. But no, that was the only thing I could fault it with. But it sounds to me like you guys were more Microsoft, you were more Xbox.
No, I think with me, what I'd say, because I did own a PS2, but I definitely didn't get it right at the beginning. I think I got it like 2002, 2003.
Yeah,
Because the way I actually paid for the PS2 myself out of my own pocket money. And what I used to do back in the day, when I used to go to school, is I think I might have told you guys the story before. Like my mom used to give me a pound for lunch every day, and I obviously wouldn't eat lunch because I had free school meals, you know. So then when I'd build up to, and when I'd build up to about £8, £9, and then I'd trade those coins for a £10 note. And I did this. I kid you not, it's a true story. I did this for years and years, and I used that same money to buy my suit for NRA, to buy my first laptop, and to buy a PS2 as well. So I feel like I bought a PS2 around about 2005, around about that time. I feel is more accurate, or maybe 2004. You know, because I do remember playing FIFA 2004 on there. And that's literally how I bought my first PS2. But obviously, because I bought it later on in life, it probably didn't have all the issues that you're mentioning with yours.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was infuriating, but it was that was the only thing. Like, and I think it's happened quite a few times down the years with like new consoles and stuff, and it was like an era where, because they try and make it more sort of impressive in terms of specs, it was like they just didn't quite. The testing must have been amiss. Like someone must have just. I mean, you're kind of thinking if your game's tested, yeah, or console tested, you're not picking up on that. I mean, it's got to be something not quite right there.
Yeah, obviously shit happens with, and also with, like I said, with the Xbox 360. Although I didn't experience it at the time because I didn't buy it right at the beginning, I bought it later on when it obviously and it was shipped. They had a ton of issues with the red ring. Again, they lost a lot of money for repairing consoles, sending consoles back because they just rushed it because they were trying to beat PlayStation to the competition. And although they had a very successful console, they lost a shit ton of money because they didn't get it right first time round. And there was the infamous, obviously, like I said, the red ring of death, and it still happens on loads of those original white consoles still. So yeah, it's just the whole rush game, wasn't it?
I just had to check a fact here. You know, PS2 is the most successful console of all time.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I've seen that. I'm not surprised. It's
160 million. I think it's like 160 million consoles have been sold.
Yeah, it's a crazy number. Timothy, best console?
So for me, it's Xbox 360 for me, mainly because it was when I was always an Xbox boy. Like I've never had a PlayStation. It was always my cousins who had PlayStations, and it's kind of like a red versus blue kind of rivalry, isn't it? Like if you don't have like if you have one that you absolutely hate the other, and then vice versa, you could always play a certain game on the Xbox, but then you couldn't play that exact same game the exact same way on the PlayStation. Like the controllers were like really clunky, or the buttons were really weird, or if you were playing, wasn't there a thing that if you were playing FIFA but you were actually a PES person, you could swap the controller layout?
So shoot was circle or B, but in PES it was square or X. So I'd always switch it. To match FIFA because I played FIFA more.
Yeah.
So I'd customize the controls so I could
what
shoot.
Did you use? Out of interest, what did you use? What was your configuration?
PES.
No, I used the FIFA configuration.
Screen? So what was PES? PES was the through ball and pass were the exact same, but then the
shoot and cross, and slide tackle. So it was So PlayStation controller it was circle, but on PES it was square.
So you first square to shoot?
No. I always used FIFA because I played FIFA growing up. So I always, whenever I played PES, I always reverted to FIFA. Even to this day, when I'm playing FIFA, I change my sprint from right trigger or R2 to R1 because I got used to playing growing up using R1 as sprint, or right button, or which is what they call it on the Xbox. So to this day, I still use that configuration. I never sprint with R2 or right trigger.
A man in his mid-30s who has to make sure that he can that he changes the fucking control layout.
Of course,
playing video games.
Of course.
But from so like coming back to favourite video games and favourite consoles, so on and so forth. I mean, GTA 5 for me is the bee's knees because of the whole storyline. You could play three different characters and yada yada. It was like the modernized version of GTA, and obviously like the next version is going to be fucking nuts when it does eventually come out. But it was my favorite video.
360 was your best console though, yeah.
Yeah,
same as mine then. Yeah, we both got the same one. But like I said, a special mention. Although McSweeney did say PS2, it was tough, cool. But again, because I was a cheapskate, I managed to play a shit ton of games, and to this day, still on the 360, it has to be 360 because it just hasn't lost its replay value. I did have two more questions, but I will keep it short and sweet. Now, any games you're playing currently? Are you guys playing any games currently? McSweeney first.
No, I mean, I actually bought PS4 in lockdown because obviously lockdown was dragging for absolutely an age, wasn't it? And again, it was FIFA 20 at the time. I actually remember playing it around Matt's house just before, the evening before we went to Prague. The following year after that, I just bought it and blitzed it throughout the summer and stuff, and kept a bit of sanity amongst the different times. But but no, I mean that the scary thing is that's 5 years ago now, and I did play FIFA 21, but other than that, I mean, I haven't really played. I used to go on Jack's quite a bit and play sort of Crash Bandicoot revamped. I think they didn't have a Crash Bandicoot 4 that came out
on the PS4 or 5, I think. Yeah, a new one. Yeah.
Yeah, I played it around his, and that was, but even that was about sort of 3 or 4 years ago. So played Mario Kart around his on I think it was on the Wii or the Switch or something. But yeah, other than that, I mean, I don't even feel I picked up a game and played one at all this year actually. No, nothing at the minute.
Tom, you?
Same for me. The only game I play would be Candy Crush on my mobile phone.
No, that doesn't count. Don't you dare mention that those shitty mobile games. Don't you dare.
Fucking brain thinker makes you think. It was all what move can I do in this A? It's a brain thinker. Shut up. Shut up.
For me, I have been playing a few whenever I get a chance to. It's tough with the kids, obviously, but I downloaded Mafia 3 again, like I mentioned before. So I was playing a little bit of that this weekend. Although it's my missus' birthday tomorrow, I will try to play a little bit more tonight if I can once the kids are gone to sleep, because I want to stay up tonight as I try to do on most Fridays and Saturdays. I also downloaded Cyberpunk because I want to try to get into it. I have tried it a few times, but I just get bored. What else have I got on there? The new Indiana Jones game, I downloaded that as well. I played about 10 minutes. It takes a lot for me to get into games, especially because I'm a cheapskate and I'm not paying for them. The problem is you have too much option. You have too much option, so you don't know what to play. I'm trying to think what else I downloaded.
Didn't you play it's probably about 2 years ago now, but didn't you play AEW?
No, when that came out originally, and then when it got chipped or cracked, I should say, I did play it a little bit, but the controls were just too annoying, and I was like, "Fuck this!" Even with the new
what was it called?
AEW Fight Forever. I think Fight Forever. I think it was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I played it for a little while, but then the controls were too annoying, and even with the new WA 2K games, the controls are just too fucking annoying. I just can't play it, and so I didn't bother.
Yeah, I think again the golden era of wrestling games is that sort of 2000s period, wasn't it? And then
here comes the pain. Yeah,
I think the last one I got was SmackDown versus Raw 2006, and after that, even that it had a few glitches in it, but it was like, I don't know. At that point in time, I thought they've run out of ideas, and I think
it's coming out every year as well. It's just the same old crap, and I just got bored of it pretty quickly, and I haven't really played another game since, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I am playing a few right now. Like I said, I've got the Switch chipped as well, so I try to play. Trying to get the kids more involved, play a bit of Kirby and stuff. But yeah, she's not really that interested right now. But I'd rather she'd be playing the Switch and watching me play video games rather than on her phone, fucking watching random YouTube shit, which she loves to do. But she plays a lot of Roblox as well, which I don't mind. At least it's making her use her brain,
Yeah.
But yeah, I still try to play as much as I can whenever I can, because it is something really dear to me growing up, obviously, video games. And I think it always will be. I mean, leading on to my final question, views on the current state of games right now, I think during that PS2 period, we were so what's the word? We were so lucky to have so many games coming out so frequently. You know, so many games being developed, and in this day and age, it's just really rare when you get a great game, or you know, obviously because they're having to slap in all these incredible graphics. So these new AAA games, you know, you get one every couple of months that might be decent, you know, but it's still really tough. And of course, the price of games as well was so expensive.
Yeah.
Unless they get cracked and I can download them on PC, then I might get them. I'm not going to pay for that. Hell no, you know, it's not happening. But I think with how much they have to fit in, and there's this new stupid market with all these Fortnite games and multiplayer games, so the focus has sort of gone away, and all this streaming and Twitch and all this bullshit. So you don't get the, you know, from our time back in the day in PlayStation and Xbox days where you get great games coming out where you can play a great campaign and a great story just in front of your screen. And nowadays they're more obviously directed towards multiplayer, as I mentioned. So it's a shame. But as we've already discussed a ton of times, you know, GTA 6, I think that's going to be the new biggie where everyone's going to literally sit down in front of the tellies and play the shit out of that game when it comes out. I think that's going to be the next big one.
Yeah, I agree. See, like the way back in the day, I mean, the amount of adverts you see on TV about like the latest video games coming out, like the latest game console coming out, like there was always something out there. But for the last 5 years, maybe due to COVID, because there wasn't a market for it anymore for like a little bit of time, but it's like radio silence, and like there's no advertisement, there's no like incentive to get the latest and greatest game. I don't even know what the latest games are out at the moment, apart from FIFA and maybe PES, because they always come out. I think COD came out like a year ago, like a year or two ago. I think the new COD came out.
Again, it's geared towards multiplayer market, and there was this COD game Warzone, which was free to play. Again, geared towards multiplayers, geared towards people online streaming, and it's not, you know, it's just it's not my thing. It's just like I just want to play a good campaign where I can sit there for a couple of hours to get obviously indulge into a story and a bit of great gameplay, and it just doesn't happen nowadays. It's really, really rare. Which is why I revert to going back and playing old games, for replaying them or playing games which I missed out on, and that's the truth of it, really.
I mean, I'm like looking forward to when my girls are older and I could show them the games that I used to play. Just basic
100%.
So like, even if you play like Snake on like the mobile, or like Blockbuster when it was on like the BlackBerry, just kind of show them the games like what they were back in the day, and then show them like the football games, and then show them Crash, Bandicoot, and then Sonic, and so on and so forth. I showed them games that we were born and raised on, so on and so forth. But then I'm still looking forward to when GTA 6 comes out, and actually looking and seeing what it feels like. But I don't want my daughters to play those games until they turn 18 years old. Anyway, but I couldn't tell you the current state of like their games consoles and what's the latest and greatest out there, apart from GTA 6. Other than that, I mean, it's straight over my head. I mean, I wouldn't say I've not got like an interest in it. It's just I can't say I've ever seen any adverts out there. Like the marketing is just shit. It's non-existent.
Yeah.
One thing I'd mention, sorry to put in Simon, one thing I mentioned about the point Timothy made about his girls and stuff, I think a big decision in me going and fixing my Xbox, well, like I said, was to get my kids into playing games. And another reason why I fixed my Xbox. So I think in a couple of years' time, when your daughters are at that age, what I would do if I was you, go grab an Xbox and go get it flashed like I have, and put a shit ton of games that you played growing up on there. And then, again, you can relive some of these memories as well as your daughters, rather than being on, you know, the normal tablets and crap, which loads of kids do nowadays. Get them playing games. Get them. A thing people don't seem to mention. I mention to my wife all the time. Us growing up playing games, we had to use our brains. We had to think. You know, it wasn't just sitting there hacking and slashing. We had to, even on FIFA games, you're thinking, oh shit, how am I going to score the next goal? Oh, you know, tactics and all this stuff. it gets your brain working, which is why I'd rather my kids sit there in front of a telly playing video games rather than again scrolling on reels and shitty shorts and all, doing the usual tap and tap, So I think it's a big thing for me as well, and that might be something that you do as well once your kids are older, and same for you, Mixune, when you do have kids. It's something nice for you to sit down and go through the games you played growing up, and then your kids enjoy it as well.
Yeah, again, like you said, it's strategizing. It's like even like words you pick up on in games where like certain characters will say stuff. It's like that for me. It helped my vocabulary and stuff, and things like that. And even what I was actually going to segue on to a bit about movies, because you think like films. I kind of think the gaming industry and the filming industry, I wouldn't say they're exactly the same in terms of their current state, but do you not think like even with films like that, they've run out of ideas, or they've probably long ago run out of ideas, and they're just rehashing obviously old stuff which they're trying to make better, and also
like the usual shit, like superhero stuff, and
yeah, exactly, spin-offs, and it's like, do you not feel like probably not quite as pronounced with as it is with gaming, but I think gaming is at that point where maybe they are a bit bereft of ideas, or they're just
it's just stale. It's just really stale. And like I said, with the challenges of the new consoles and the new market of people who played these games, like I said, you got stupid people playing. Mind you, people might enjoy playing it, but all this Fortnite and shit, and all this online crap. We're more purists. We grew up in an era where we didn't have internet gaming and stuff, so we're used to the original proper games. That is what I refer to them as. But yeah, times are changing, mate. Same with the movies, as you mentioned. Times are just changing, and I think that's what it is. We're just moving with the times. But yeah, we just got to enjoy when a good game does come out. Yeah,
like any products, like even like wrestling, things like that. You think how difficult it is to sort of keep coming up with new ideas, and they seem to smash it and still get the gates are virtually full, and also your ticket prices and all that sort of stuff. But with gaming, it's like, as you rightly said, it is just ludicrously expensive now. And
yeah, it's a shame
to think that, like, I'm trying to think how many weeks of pocket money we like. If I had kids now and I was giving them $5 a week for like helping out, how many weeks would they have to save up for about like 12 weeks or something to buy a game?
Yeah, games are a lot now. There's about 80, 90 quid. Back in our day, maybe max 40 quid. I think we could get away with 30 quid, 40 quid. And obviously, second-hand games was a big market as well for us growing up as kids. So obviously, you go down to a shop, get a second-hand game. I remember buying Metal Gear Solid 2 at down Brick Lane Market for like 10 quid. Just played the shit out of that game, but it only cost us 10 quid. But nowadays, no chance. I know that eBay and all that stuff has obviously gone bigger over the last decade or so, or 2 decades, but yeah, with all these games being available, you download them, onto your console directly. I feel like the second-hand market also takes a hit as well. So it is what it is. But I think no matter whatever age we are, we will always be a fan of. It's part of our childhood, and we might obviously revisit playing whenever we can, regardless of our age. It's something just within us.
Yeah, and it's the same with like football growing up and or whatever else it may be. Obviously, Premier League back in the 90s was fresh and new and innovative, and now it's just the products gotten so big. To use another example, it's like it's not new anymore, is it? It's just the absolute monopoly almost in terms of revenue and stuff. But that I just thought that was I sort of compare the two industries, gaming and filming industry.
It's a shame, but again, this is what the times are now. I will finish it there. Next week we're going to do a season review of football. Obviously, all the games would have been done and dusted, so we'll definitely do that next week. First time we've gone over an hour because we're not cheapskating and using free software, so that's a nice difference. That's a nice difference.
Yeah. The person that was in charge of recording has been spoken to.
Exactly.
P45.
All right, guys. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Right. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.
Later. Bye.